Hi everyone, and welcome to today's English tutorial. And in today's tutorial, we're going to be looking at 5 common mistakes made by speakers of Latin-based languages. So if you're French or a Spanish speaker, Portuguese, Italian, then let's see if you make these mistakes. I've got 5 common mistakes for you. So let's have a look at mistake number 1. So number 1 is all about the word take. In other languages like French and Italian and Spanish, this word take is so common. You people love this word. You take everything. You take a beer, you take the sun. But in English, we don't take. We're not the same. We use take more literally, as in maybe you go over there to take something from the shelf. That's how you might use the word take in English. In other languages, it's much more general, this idea of taking something. And usually we use the word get. The word get is our very general word. So if we go to a cafe and there's a shelf with some sandwiches, then maybe I'd say, I'm just going to get a sandwich. Not necessarily to take a sandwich, but to get. That's the more general word. And looking at the couple of examples I gave you before, taking a beer, taking the sun, we don't ever take a drink or take a beer. Normally we get or we buy a beer. And regarding taking the sun, well, that doesn't exist in English. You don't take the sun, you sunbathe. One word, that's the verb, to sunbathe. So never say, I'm going to the beach to take the sun. No, I'm going to the beach to sunbathe. So that's number 1. Number 2 is all about the word actually. This is a false friend because the word actually doesn't mean the same as what most speakers of French, Spanish, and Italian and Portuguese think that it means. Now, I know that in your language, the word actually translated means right now, at the moment. But in English, it means something else. Actually, in English means in reality. So for example, I could say, I didn't think I would enjoy the film, but actually, I loved it. In reality, I loved it. So how do we say that word that isn't actually? Well, that would be currently. Currently means right now. So for example, currently I live in London. That's how we would use it. Not actually I live in London. Number 3 is how we use the word to depend. So this is the same in Latin-based languages, the word, but what comes after the word is different. So usually I hear from speakers of Spanish, for example, it depends of the situation. But in English, it is not to depend of, it's to depend on. It depends on the situation. So let's say I say, okay, do you want to go to the park? You would reply, okay, maybe. It depends on the weather, not it depends of the weather. It depends on. If you use a question word after depends, like what, how, why, then you don't need to use any preposition. For example, it depends what happens. Then that's enough. You don't need to say it depends on what happens. You can, but you don't need to. Number 4 is how we use the word before. So you've got this word before, and then you often have a verb afterwards. But what form should that verb be in? Well, in Latin-based languages, it's usually in the infinitive. So that's quite a common mistake. Before to leave the house, we will close all the windows. That's wrong. In English, we don't use the infinitive after before. In fact, we have two options. We can use the gerund before leaving the house, or we can use before and then the subject and then the verb. Before we leave the house, but never before to leave. And number 5 is all about the verb have and the verb be. Because in Latin-based languages, the word have is very, very common. You have 30 years old, you have thirst, you have hunger, you have sleepy. But in English, we do not have these things. We are these things. I am 30 years old. I wish I'm a little older. I am hungry. I am thirsty. I am sleepy. So in those cases, just replace the word have with to be in the correct form. Think about the question, how old are you? Not how old have you or how many years have you? No, how old are you? And I'm feeling very sleepy, or he is very sleepy. We're using the correct form of the verb to be, not to have. Okay, so a quick recap. Number 1, be careful. Don't use the word take like you would normally use it in your language. It's usually better to use the word get, but it depends on the phrase. Number 2, don't use actually unless it means in reality. If you want to talk about right now, you should use currently. Number 3, it depends on, not it depends of. Number 4, when we use before, don't use the infinitive. Never say before to do something. Use the gerund or the subject and the verb. And finally, number 5, be careful with have and be. We use be a lot. I am 34 years old and I am very hungry, not I have. Okay, so hopefully you won't be making any of those mistakes anymore. And I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, then make sure you click the like button. And if you have any questions or doubts, then post your comments below. And please do subscribe to this channel and tell all your friends about it. It's a really great way of supporting free language learning content on the internet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for another tutorial.